Hello, students, and good day. I welcome you all to another lecture in our Statistics and Probability class. For today, we're going to discuss about random variables and discrete probability distributions. These terms may sound intimidating because it's not just variables, but random variables, and it's not just probability distributions, but discrete probability distributions. However, don't be scared because these terms are actually very simple, no? Their concepts are very simple, and I'm going to show it in this lecture. Let's start with the variables. Diba in algebra and calculus, we have when we say when we say variable, it can take certain values and it can also change. In statistics, we have what we call the random variable. It is often denoted with big letter X or capital letter X, and it means that it is a variable whose value is determined by a random experiment. This experiment, not talking about um, using beakers, test tubes, or etc. But this experiment, random experiment, is uh, a chance process, no? In which when you do the experiment multiple times, you might get different results or outcomes. Say, for example, picking two cards from a deck of cards. Diba? When you, your first trial, siguro, you get two aces or two pairs. And then, sa next trial mo, iba naman yung magkukuha mo after na ibalik mo yung first na kinuha mo. Then you shuffle it. So, maybe sa 37th try mo pa makuha ulit yung first two cards na na-pick mo. Maybe sa 58 or etc. So, ibig sabihin, every trial, pwede na iba yung result na makuha mo. So, basically, sa random variable, yung values, quote-unquote values niya is determined, no, by a probability experiment. So, basically, based siya sa mga outcomes ng probability experiment mo. So, para mas maintindihan natin yung random variables, we have here an example. What do you get when you flip a coin 3 times? So, our random experiment or probability experiment here is flipping a coin 3 times. No? So, your random variable could be the number of heads. Di ba, when you, siguro, and then, itong nasa baba, yung 3220, this is an example of a possible values ng random variable mo. Say, for example, sa first trial, you got so lucky and that for the 3 consecutive toss or flip, you got 3 consecutive heads, no? So, mayroon kang 3 dito. And then sa next, you got 2, and then 2, and then 0, and maybe 1, etc. So, basically, your random variable is different, no, for every trial. It might be different for every trial. So in statistics, we're concerned if we do the experiment multiple times, can we draw conclusions? Will the random variable take a particular value more likely than other values? No? Kapag gawin natin yung experiment maybe 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, or infinitely many times, makakakuha ba tayo ng conclusion? So, para mas maintindihan yung random variable na concept, discuss muna natin sa probability distribution din, no? Kasi gamitin niya si random variable. We'll have more examples later. So, a probability distribution is a table or formula that lists the probabilities for each outcome of the random variable x. Okay? But, so basically, di ba, if we have a probability experiment, yung outcomes natin, possible that their probabilities vary. So, kapag i-list mo yung outcome sa table and with its corresponding probabilities, then that is a distribution, no, ng kanilang mga probabilities ng ating outcomes. So, tawag dyan is probability distribution. Now, in In this lesson, we're going to focus more on the discrete probability distribution. In statistics, more concerned tayo sa continuous, hindi naman sa more concerned, but mostly ng ating ma-encounter is continuous sa probability distribution. However, mas magigets natin or makukuha natin yung definition talaga ng or yung purpose talaga ng probability distribution if makuha natin yung idea ni discrete probability distribution. So, paano ba magiging discrete yung probability distribution ng paano magiging discrete yung probability distribution? So, ang discrete na tinatawag na ibig sabihin dito, hindi yung yung discrete na when you fart inside the classroom and you're so discrete about it. It's about probability distribution na makaka-take ng only finite values, no? Finite values, meaning say for example, kapag nag-toss ka ng die, discrete probability distribution ang andyan kasi ang values or ang outcome mo is 1. 1 to 6 lang, no? In fact, there are only 6 values, no? Or outcomes na pwede. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Wala ka na makukuha between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, ganyan, no? Diba, in fact, in real numbers, there are infinitely many numbers between 1 and 2, right? So, kapag hindi na yun sinasali, like, finite lang talaga, more, si discrete probability distribution, mostly mga integers, ganyan, mga fraction, ito ang pwede. So, kapag ganyan, kapag finite values lang meron, discrete probability distribution ang tawag dyan. Okay? So, sabi ko kanina earlier na instat, we most likely continuous probability distribution yung tinatakal because, say for example, when you're concerned of height, no, sa mga tao, probability distribution ng height ng mga tao sa world. Di ba mayroong mga, say for example, 176 centimeters, saka mayroon ding 177 centimeters yung height. Pero mayroon ding mga tao naman na between those two values, no, mayroon silang mga 176.125 centimeters yung height, etc. Ganyan. So, maraming mga in-betweens. So, kapag ganyan ng mga probability experiment, o yan ng mga case, hindi na yan siya discrete, that is continuous probability distribution. So, again, this time, let's focus more on discrete para mas maintindihan talaga yung probability distribution. Say, for example, when you flip 3 coins at the same time and your random variable is the number of heads shown. Diba? Ito yung mga possible na outcome, no? Siguro kung you got so lucky, heads, you got 3. 3 yung value ng ng random variable. So, in this example class, concerned mo lang talaga is kung ilan yung heads na shown, no? That's your random variable. So, kapag heads, that is 3 heads. Yun lang yung mo concern. Heads, tail. Okay, there are 2 heads. Heads, tail, heads. 2 heads. Tail, heads, 2 heads. Tail, heads, 1 head. Tail, heads, tail, 1 head. And head, tail, 1 head. And kapag, ang laki ka, tail, 0 heads. So, mayroon kang 8 na possible outcomes, no? And for the values naman ng random variable mo, mayroon kang 3, 2, 2, pwede pala siya 3, pwede siya 2, pwede siya 1, pwede siya 0. So, dito, tawag dito is ito yung raw natin na picture, no, ng ating probability experiment. So, kapag ilagay mo yan siya sa ating distribution table, di ba sabi dito yung probability distribution is a table or formula. So, kapag ilagay niyo sa table, we have here small letter x, meaning this is your values, no, na pwede ma-take yung random variable. And then, we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. Tapos, ito naman, sa baba, si probability that the random variable is equal to that value x. Let's don't be confused ha. Itong big letter X, this is just your random variable. And this small letter x is yung mga values na pwede niya ma-take. So, ito, probability ng random variable equal sa value na 0, equal na sa value na 1, equal sa value na 2, equal sa value na 3. So, ganyan lang yung ibig sabihin nito. So, some books use probability of big letter X lang, but ito lang yung natin. Ipa-follow. So, 0, so makita naman natin earlier, no? Si 0 na heads, isa lang siya na way, no? There are only one way na maging 0 heads. So, 1/8. Kung isa naman na head, there are actually 3 ways. So, 3/8, and then 3/8 again, and 1/8, or 3. So, ito na yung magiging probability distribution mo. Discrete probability distribution for the situation, no? Or probability experiment. So, kapag sa quizzes, expect mo na ito yung magiging result ng isang probability distribution or discrete probability distribution. Now, sa ating discrete probability distribution, meron tayong requirements, no? So, first is that the sum of all the probabilities of the outcomes is 1. So, kung pansin nyo, 1/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 1/8, that is 1. The second one naman is that the probability of each event in the sample space must be between or equal to 0 and 1. Of course, no, because our probabilities, diba, it's in our definition of probability na kapag na it must be between 0 and 1 and inclusive with 0 and 1. Pag greater than 1, hindi yan posible na yan, and less than 0, posible din yan. So, let's have another example. A probability distribution for random variable x, which is the sum of two rolled dice. Okay. Kung makita nyo sa table, meron tayong mga possible values, no, na pwede ma-take ni random variable x. It's actually 2 to 12. Why? Because when you toss two or roll two dice, the smallest possible sum is 2, and that is when your two dice is both 1. And then the highest possible sum is 12, and that is when both are 6, no? So, para ma-fill in mo yung mga probability sa baba, you try to count how many ways are there ba or per value, no? At saka you need to solve also for the total number of outcomes. Diba, since there are 6 possible outcome for the first die and there are 6 possible outcome for the second die. So there are 36 na possible outcomes, or possible outcomes. So how many ways man can you get 2? So that is only when both are 1. So there are only one way. How many ways would you get 12? That is only one way also when both are 6. How many ways can you get 3? That is when 1 plus 1 and 2, or 2 and 1. So that's 2 ways. And how many ways can you get 11? That's when 5 and 6, or 6 and 5. So if you continue that, you will get 1/36, 2/36, 3/36, until 1/36 for 12. Kita nyo ba? Pagpatuloy mo yung sa 4, it is 3, no? Because it's 1, 3, 3, 1, and 2, 2. Yan, etc. So, to check if this is correct, you may try checking each probability if it's between 0 and 1, yes. And then, is the sum of the probabilities equal to 1? Yes. If you add this all, this is actually equal to 1. Now, what's the beauty of this probability distribution? Itong probability distribution natin, class, it's great because makukuha natin yung probability ng, say, for example, less than or equal to 8. To get the probability of less than or equal to 8, you just have to add all the probabilities na from 8 pababa to 2. So if you add these probabilities, you will get 13 over 18. So ganyan lang siya. So say for example, less than or equal to 6. So ito, 5 over 36 pababa to 1 over 36. Kapag may ask naman nga, what's the probability of getting greater than 5? No? So ito, greater than 5. So 6 papuntang 12. Okay? So you add mo lang yung mga probabilities na yan. So it's very useful with that type of problems. Discrete probability distribution. In our probability distribution, we have also what we call we also have its mean, variance, standard deviation, and expectation. Okay. Now, how would you compute the mean of the number of spots that show on top when a die is rolled? You may get it by rolling 5 times, and then 10 times, and then 100 times, etc. However, these values are only approximation for the true mean. Yes, no. In fact, the bigger or the larger or kapag you toss it or you roll it higher number of times, the better, no? The better the approximation sa pagkuha ng mean. Pero, how many times man dapat na i-roll yung die para makuha mo yung exact answer? The answer is, it must be rolled infinite number of times. Infinite number of times para makuha mo talaga yung actual na mean, no? For that situation or probability experiment. So, kung gagamitin natin yung mean na formula natin for sample space, it's impossible, no? Because, hindi siya pwede gamitin because magiging infinite yung denominator. And it's impossible din na gawin itong infinite number of times. So, gagawin na lang natin is we modify the formula and ito yung makukuha natin when we modify it. The mean of a random variable with a discrete probability distribution is given by mu is equal to x of 1 times the probability of x of 1 plus x of 2 times the probability of x of 2 until x of n times the probability of x of n, where your x of 1 to x of n are the outcomes, and that p sub x of 1 to p sub x of n are the corresponding probabilities. Okay, so para mas maintindihan yan, let's apply it to an example. Find the mean of the number of spots that appear when a regular die is tossed. No? So yung question kanina. So solution natin, ito. Gawa ka ng probability distribution. So first, list mo yung mga possible outcome, 1 to 6, and its corresponding probabilities. Diba? 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6 man lahat. So, to get the mean, it's just the product, no, of the outcome or the value times its corresponding probability, and then you add them all, you will get 3.5. Now, when you roll a die, it's impossible to get 3.5, right? However, nevertheless, 3.5 is the theoretical average of all those outcomes na makukuha mo when you roll die. Okay? So, it's not necessary na ito talaga yung magiging result when you roll a die. It's just the theoretical average. Now, since we have the theoretical average, no, center point, let's have the spread naman ng ating probability distribution. Now, the formula for the variance of a probability distribution is given by this formula. It's actually the sum of the squares of each value minus its corresponding probability, and then the sum subtracted by the square of the mean. Now, the standard deviation, of course, is just the square root of your variance. Okay, let's apply this in an example. A box contains 5 balls. A box contains 5 balls. 2 balls are numbered 3, 1 ball is numbered 4, and 2 are numbered 5. A ball. The balls are mixed and one is selected at random. After a ball is selected, its number is recorded. Then, it is replaced. If the experiment is repeated many times, find the variance and standard deviation of the number on balls. Okay. So, mayroong 5. So, yung probability experiment natin is may 5 balls, tapos numbered 3, 4, and 5. So, mayroong dalawang 3, isang 4, tsaka dalawang 5. So, gawa tayo ng probability distribution for that. So, possible outcomes, 3, 4, 5 are values. And then, corresponding probabilities, 2/5, 1/5, and 2/5. Next, to get the variance and standard deviation, we need to get the mean first, no? So, in getting the mean, diba, we just multiply each value to its corresponding probabilities. We have 3 times 2/5, 4 times 1/5, until 5 times 2/5. So, if you add them all, we get 4, no? Now that we have the mean, we can now solve the variance. So the variance is just the square of each value times its corresponding probability, and then you add them all, subtracted by the square of the mean, you get 4/5. And so therefore, our standard deviation is just the square root of 4/5, which is 0.894. So ganyan lang, no, sa pagkuha ng variance natin ng standard deviation, follow lang sa formula. And it's very important na magawa first ng discrete probability distribution and then getting the mean. Now, in probability distribution, discrete probability distribution, we have what we call expectation or the expected value. No? The expected value of a discrete random variable of a probability distribution is the theoretical average of the variable, which is actually our mean. The symbol E of x is used for the expected value. So, capital letter X, no? Meaning expectation of the random variable x. So, it's just equal to the mean, no? Sa pagkuha ng expectation. So, let's apply ito ng example para mas maintindihan. Ito. Yung mga ganito na type na example is dito sa expectation, no? Gamit. 1,000 tickets are sold at $1 each for a color television valued $350. What is the expected value of the gain if you purchase one ticket? Okay. Ano ang expected na gain mo, no? Kapag purchase ka ng one ticket sa isang paraffle na ang reward is television worth $350. So, first, gawa ka ng probability distribution. So, ang possible na outcome is manalo or matalo, no? Win or lose. So, ano yung corresponding value na makukuha mo kung mag-win ka? Ang gain mo is $349. Why $349? Kasi, $350 yung yung TV, but $1 yung ticket, no? So, masubtract ka ng $1 yung value ng 350. So, 349 na lang ang magiging gain mo. And then, yung lose mo naman is $1, no? Yung corresponding value niya. Negative $1 kasi, diba? Walan ka ng $1. Wala kang nakuha. So, ang probability each is, for the win, since there are 1,000, no? Na possible na manalo, and you're one of those 1,000. So, it's 1 over 1,000 lang yung probability na manalo ka. So, pag matalo, it's just, since it's the complementary of you winning, so it's just 1 minus 1 over 1,000, which is 999 over 1,000. Okay, now that you have your probability distribution table, you can now solve for the expectation or expected value or for the mean. So to solve the mean or expected value, it's just 349 times its probability na 1 over 1,000 plus negative $1 times its probability na 999 over 1,000. And that is equal to the negative $0.65. This is your expected gain, no? So, ibig sabihin, kapag, let's say, for example, yung paraffle is gagawin siya many times, infinitely many times, tapos sasali ka talaga always, and you pay $1 each time. Ito yung magiging expected mo talaga na gain, no? Negative $0.65. Okay? So, try this challenge. No? So, a financial advisor suggests that his client select one of the two types of bonds in which to invest $5,000. Bond X pays a return of 4% and has a default rate of 2%. Bond Y naman has a return of 2.5% and a default rate of 1%. Find the expected rate of return and decide which bond would be a better investment. When the bond defaults, the investor loses all the investment. So you may pause the video here while you solve. Okay, so I believe na may answer na kayo. So let's try to check, no, if correct ba yung answer. So first step is to, again, make a probability distribution table. So yung outcome ng pag-invest mo is possible na okay and may return ka na nakuha, or pwede rin na na-default, no, or nawala yung investment mo lahat. So when tayong dalawa, we have band X and band Y. So for band X, yung return is 4%, no, ng investment, which is equal to $200. So kapag default, of course, mawawala yung $5,000 mo. So it's negative $5,000. Yun yung mga values ng ating return, no? So ang probability for each is, 'di ba? It said na kapag default nawawala, no? So it's given there na it's 2% for bond X. So 98% yung hindi mawawala yung investment. So, or 0.98. And kapag default, 0.02. Now, for band Y naman, since it's 2.5% daw yung return, so times 500, so makuha mo na return is $125. Kapag na-default naman, ang return na makuha mo is wala, instead, nawalan ka ng $5,000. Given naman na default rate doon sa band Y is 1% or 0.01. So, ibig sabihin, 0.99 or 99% yung probability na hindi mawala yung investment mo. Okay, now that we have this probability distribution table, we can now solve for the expected values of each, no? Expected value na return. So, for bond X, bond X, we have if you multiply each value to its corresponding probability, you'll get $96. And for band Y, you will get $73.75. So, klaro naman na mas mataas yung expected na return mo sa bond X. So, it's suggested that you will invest your $5,000 to bond X. So, it's very useful, no? See expectation in deciding, no, which bond to invest. That's basically our random variable and discrete probability distribution. Again, when we say random variable, it's not about randomize or random number from a calculator. Its values, no, is determined by probability experiment or random experiment, no, which has well-defined outcomes. Now, a discrete probability distribution naman is a distribution of probabilities, no? Na finite lang yung ma-take na values. Okay? So, ganyan lang yung ilagay natin sa mind. And then we have here mean also and expected value. So, I hope you've learned something for today. No? I hope na klaro sa inyo na si random variable and discrete probability distribution. I see you next time. And thank you and God bless.